You're listening to the Agent and the Fan podcast with sports agent Chris Leible and fan Lou Columna.
Welcome, everybody, to the Agent and the Fan podcast. I'm Chris Leible. I'm the agent. I'm with my man Lou Columna. He's the fan. Lou, look at us. We're here together.
We're here together for the first time.
Look at this. Well, not the first time, but we've been Miguel Cabrera's.
Yes, that's true.
And so, this is a rare occurrence. But we're together.
So this is pretty awesome.
This is very cool.
I'm excited. The kids are outside playing, so it's all good.
Kids are outside playing. Hopefully they won't bother us during the show. But Lou, we have a lot of stuff to get into.
A lot to discuss. Let's start off with the playoffs. This has been so far. This wild card series has been really, really good. There's only been one that went 3, but all the games were amazing games. You know, let's start off with the Padres. That series, Tatis was, when he hit that home run, it almost, I had people telling me that felt like Yankee Stadium, like the crowd, the energy. They, to me, are going to be the biggest team to give the Dodgers a run for their money. They're going to be absolutely amazing. They have the team now. King, 12 strikeouts, phenomenal. They got the offense. This is going to be really, really good. Then let's talk about your team, the Mets. Man, what a series. Is Pete Alonso coming back after this or what?
We'll see.
It's going to be tough, but, this is Miracle Mets Part 2, maybe. I don't know. I think they're looking good. They're scaring me, and I'm a Yankee fan. Let's look at that. Then we got the Royals. The Royals, to me, is the biggest surprise because I thought that the Orioles were really going to take a step. Listen, they struggled at the end of the season. We knew that, but they have a really talented team, and for them to lose against the Royals, listen, Bobby Witt Jr., Seth Lugo, ex-Met, has pitched phenomenal. So they're looking really good. I think they're going to give the Yanks a run for their money. And then you got the Tigers, man. The Tigers, they slayed that beast. Houston had a terrible start to the season. They came on strong, but
predicted by me.
Predicted by you, but I still wasn't in love with them, even though I can't stand them. I just felt like they were lacking something, and then Verlander not being on the roster. To me, I think they just ran out of gas, and Hader was horrible. You paid him $95 million, and this is what he does. So it's going to be interesting to see, what they do, but that's for another day. But those 4 series.
The series were great. As you said, the Padres, the Braves definitely looked the worst for wear.
Yeah.
I think they'd been through kind of the mill, especially that doubleheader that got forced upon the Mets and Braves definitely took a toll on them. The fact they had to travel across the country, get their act together, and play a game the next day.
Not easy.
It looked, they looked a little tired and worn down. So that was tough for them. Obviously, the Mets did an amazing job to be able to, come through that adversity of those battles and win the game in Atlanta to clinch it, and then kind of set themselves up a little bit for Milwaukee. Lost a tough game 2, but then bounced back to win game 3 in exciting fashion. And it does. It definitely reminds me of being a kid and watching the 86 Mets. That reminded me a lot of the Astros series when the Mets, came back from
Mike Scott.
Every time Mike Scott to, Astros, and Mets came back from 3-0 late in the game, in the 9th inning to
win.
Game
Yeah,
6 to avoid Mike Scott in game 7, and so many crazy games in that series. Reminded me a little bit of that because the Brewers were a very good team this year, and they unfortunately got it. They just ran into a buzzsaw at the Mets, so that was interesting. I think, like you said, the Royals have been a great team all year. Great story, really nicely put together team,
and a championship pedigree because they still have guys who won a World Series.
Yeah,
Salvador.
The Royals have done a great job rebuilding and putting that together. You got to give a lot of credit to the front office there for what they've done. And then you said the Tigers, you're saying the Astros didn't, Hader or whatever. They couldn't hit. The problem is the Astros didn't hit at all because the Tigers, who were 10 games under 500 in like the middle of August or whatever they were, came back and just proved to be such a challenging team, and their number one starter is the best pitcher in baseball right now in Skubal, and what this guy has done this year and how he's propelled them. So they're definitely a tough out as well. So it's going to be a very interesting series. You have some great teams in waiting with the Yankees and Guardians in the American League, and then the Phillies and Dodgers, obviously, in the National League. So then you're running into these teams that are playing so well going in against them. So with the Mets being the only team that could actually play 3 games, so they're going to enjoy their off day. And then by the time you guys are watching this, we're already going to be into the divisional round. So very exciting, fun. This is the time of year that everybody's excited for in baseball. As someone who's been on the inside of the game, working on both the team side and also on the agent side, I mean, this is what you live for. This is the excitement. And you asked the question about Pete Alonso. I think time will tell. Obviously, his huge home run to win Game 3 for the Mets was not only much needed for him because he has slumped a little bit lately. Yeah. But it kind of reinforces that he's a dude there, and he's always going to be a threat as long as he's got, a bat in his hand, that he could be a guy who could change a game with one swing. And that's exactly what he did. He saved the Mets season. And it's not, Lindor's done it all year. There have been so many heroes. I mean, Starling Marte, my former client who, didn't start the first game of the doubleheader against the Braves, had 2 huge hits. So, I mean, there's so many different heroes and so many different things, but this is the time of the year that you live for when you're in the business. This is the exciting, fun time, to be able to sit and watch, an afternoon game on a Tuesday afternoon, whatever it is. So, it's exciting, and I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen next round.
So let me ask you this, which is a question that I had for you. As an agent, at this time of the year, where are you in terms of your mindset? Are you looking at, hey, my guy's doing well, checking these boxes? Where are you as an agent? How does an agent look at the postseason? So
as the agents go, you this time of year, obviously, this is kind of this is like the spring training for you, because next month in November is when you're really going to kick it up a notch, and that's when you're going to start looking to get your guys' contracts, sign your guys, make your inroads. That's when your players become free agents. That's when you start looking into contracts and opportunities and things like that during the off season. So that you're looking into that stuff. But really, obviously, when you have players in the playoffs, you also want to be, you got to keep a close eye on them, make sure they're performing well, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And obviously, these are game-changing. I mean, excuse the pun, but these are game-changing moments. Sure. That Pete Alonso has been in a slump for a while, comes up with that big home run. That's a feather in his cap in his free agency, which is pending. Maybe it's something that the Mets, opens.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
So, and things like that. So,
there's been speculation that, hey, Pete's gone no matter what. Does a World Series run, or not even necessarily a World Series run, but a Pete Alonso run in the playoffs, does that alter the thinking of the front office? And you as an agent, how do you tackle that?
So it could. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to the client. As we talked about this a lot on the show, you got to know your client. You got to know who they are, what they're doing, and what their mindset is. I don't know Pete like that, so I don't know what his mindset is. Someone like a David Wright, who was probably the closest comp to Pete in recent history for the Mets. I mean, David Wright wanted to be a Met, and he was gonna stick around, and they wanted him to be a Met, and that was that. I don't know if Pete has that same desire. That I don't know. I can't answer that. But if I'm his agent, I would know that, and so that's going to come into play, and then you'll use that as you will. Just like David Wright and his agents did with him. So they ended up getting him a great deal, and David got what he wanted at the end of the day, which was to be a Met for life, and
got paid well.
And got paid well for it, paid fairly for it. Fairly. So again, it all just depends. Now, maybe Pete is telling Scott Boras, his agent, I don't care where it is, just give me as much money as I can, or maybe he's saying, hey, let's go to the best deal, or. Yeah.
And this, by the way, could be the same conversation for a guy, let's say, who's on the opposite end where he's 100%. Struggling, and you still have those conversations like, hey,
No. But I think as an agent, you got to be. This is where you're starting to prepare.
This is where you earn your money.
You're gonna prepare your case, so to speak, and where you're saying, like, listen, this is why I think Pete's worth this, and this is why, but you can use it for any other guy. But obviously, the Mets have a bunch of guys that there'll be decisions will have to be made, whether it's from the club side or whether it's from the player side. So we'll see how that all plays out. We're just talking about the Mets specifically now, but that could obviously every team has
every team. Yeah.
That's
going to be fascinating, and that's going to be a topic of conversation for after the World Series, because it's going to it's going to come full, and this year is going to be a lot of big names, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a very fun offseason.
It should be, and also just because of last year was so different, it'll be interesting to see how that affects this market. And,
Great point.
And moving forward. So we'll see what happens.
Are you going to the winter meetings?
Winter meetings? I'll be there.
So let's discuss this next round. Let's start off with the Yankees and the Royals. Give me your thoughts.
Well, obviously you have a very good young team in the Royals. The Yankees have had a great year. They put it all together like you predicted early in the season. I don't know if you predicted or you're just wishful thinking, but whatever it was, it worked out for you. Yankees obviously are going to be a challenge for anybody in the postseason. But the Royals are playing well, and I don't think they can be counted out. And I think it should be a fun series and a good series. And I think I'll probably say the same thing for almost all four of the series.
Yeah, no, I agree. Mets, Phillies, to me, it's going to be interesting, though.
Mets, Phillies will be a challenge. I think the Mets have to, the Mets, obviously, the emotion and the drain. I think, look.
Do they have to win the first game?
No, they don't have to win the first game, but it would be helpful to do it. But one thing I could tell you from being on the inside and from working with the team, what it takes out of you as a human being, and I never played at that level, but what it takes out of you as a human being, I can't explain to you. There wasn't one year where was working in the front office of the Mets, where after the season ended, and it finally ended, whether we were in the postseason or not, I didn't get sick and be out for whatever, get the flu or whatever it was, where your body just gives out.
Yeah.
So now you're talking about actually physically performing. I wasn't physically performing, but I was working hard, nonstop, ridiculous hours, traveling, running around, doing all the things I was doing. And it does take its toll on you. So, the players, that's a whole nother, side to it. So it's very different.
It's going to be different. And this is why, again, I'll refer to you on this. This is what I wonder. Does that bye week, this is not the NFL, this is not even the NBA, does that bye week help or not help?
This is an age-old thing. This is a good question, and it's an age-old, to me, it's an age-old, and I think everybody has a different view on it. I think the week definitely is a mental, it's kind of, you can release, relax, spend time with your family, chill out, watch a movie, go to the mall, whatever it is. If you're a player or somebody in the organization, it's not in your face. But sometimes having that momentum going does help you. And sometimes that little rest hurts you.
Because you got to turn it on all of a sudden.
Because you got to turn it on. And these teams, the other teams that are coming in are coming off emotional series.
Yeah.
They don't have to turn it on. They never turned it off. So you could take either side of that argument, and I could see it from either perspective. I know just even from when I was playing as a kid or even coaching, sometimes you want to just play the games in a row and just be done with it. And sometimes you like the rest.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes you feel like, hey, you're playing a team, you get a bye, let's say, and you're not. If I'm coaching a tournament or something like that, and we're getting a bye because we had a better team or whatever, a better record, and then the team that played the game at 8:00 and you're playing at 10:00 against them, and you're kind of sleeping for the first 3 innings, and they're already kicking it on all cylinders, and you get down early, and it's like sometimes you can't get out of that hole. So I can see it from either perspective to answer your question, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Tigers and the Guardians. that to me is also going to be a really good series because those two teams, although the Guardians are on paper, the better team, to your point just now, Detroit is coming in with some serious momentum and they're starting to believe, and their young guys, stepping up. And this is after they didn't have a fire sale by any stretch of the imagination, but they traded their best pitcher at the time, or one of the second best pitcher on the team, to the Dodgers, thinking like, hey, maybe this is not it. But they're riding a wave that I think, could really overtake the Guardians.
Look, if you watched their celebration the other day, AJ Hinch has done an amazing job.
And he's a winner.
AJ, I've known AJ a long time. He's a good guy. He knows what he's doing. And you could see that they're believing it. They're feeling it. And, what they've done over the past month and a half is almost 2 months now is incredible. And I could definitely see that being an upset there.
Yeah.
Guardians are great. Certainly wouldn't be surprised to see them win, but I could see the Tigers coming in there and really, making some noise. So we'll see.
Yeah. And finally, I think, which is the marquee matchup of this round, Dodgers Padres. What do you think?
No, I think that the Padres,
I'm liking the Padres.
They're the ultimate momentum, like killing out on all cylinders team right now. Definitely, you see them having that feeling, and
they have a swag about them.
They have a swag about them, and I think that comes from AJ Preller, the GM and who the guy who's running the team, and AJ has that same kind of attitude. And I think it's taken that persona. I think they have a very good manager on the field, who has done some great things as a manager. And I think he's got them, as much as they've given up, but they pieced it together, and they just have a very good team. I mean, Jackson Merrill is just such a stud.
To me, rookie of the year for
such a stud, and to go out there to center field where he's never played before, and they're just a very good team. That's what you just talked about before and asked me about, like that break. I could see the Dodgers maybe coming out a little sluggish, and the Padres just coming out like a house of fire. But obviously the Dodgers' talent and their marquee names are going to cream rises to the top. So that's why it's a fascinating matchup. So these are all great series. And it should be a lot of fun to enjoy these games. So hopefully everybody will be able to do that. So
no, I agree. So that's going to be fun. Let's shift to the big news of last week, and that's Pete Rose passing away. So many things to unpack. Obviously, Pete Rose, the player, Pete Rose, the manager player, and obviously the gambling and everything that went with that. What are your thoughts on Pete?
Well, obviously, like you said, Pete's a very complicated figure in the game, in the history of the game. A lot of the all-time greats are. Pete is a true underdog story. He was not a major physical specimen or talent, but just a hard-working.
Charlie Hustle.
Just a hard-working kid from Cincinnati who just turned himself into one of the greatest players in the history of the game. He
belongs in the Hall of Fame.
There's no place that you can tell anybody, that you can tell me or most people, I think, where you can't say like Pete Rose isn't an important figure in the history of the game and one of the all-time greats. And I think he'll always go down as an all-time great player. What happened with him off the field, on the field, but off the field is a different conversation, in my opinion. I think that it's a very tough position. He definitely violated an important code of the game and messed up. And he also didn't maybe necessarily handle it the best way.
Yeah, I agree.
When he had the chances to do that. And I think that didn't help him at all. He was kind of defiant when it came to that. And I think that's probably what cost him maybe getting that second chance and getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I know that was his lifelong goal after what happened. So,
yeah, I think two things for me. Would this be happening to Pete today with how relevant gambling is in sports today? Would it be looked at the same way with Pete, right? And secondly, for me, he doesn't need to be in the Hall of Fame for me to know that he's a Hall of Famer. It'd be nice, for him to be put in there.
Well, it would have been nice when he was alive.
Yeah,
but
and that's what, and there was always talk like, hey, we're not going to give him that satisfaction. Maybe we'll do it after. But say what you want about Pete, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, the numbers he's put up. Forget about the all-time hits leader, but what was it? 500 games at 4 different positions. So it was something.
I mean, there's so many numbers that you can go off the charts with. The guy got on base almost 6,000 times in his
44 game hitting streak. I mean, it's a complicated legacy for Pete because he just he didn't handle it the best.
And I think probably it's interesting in that what got him to the top also probably ended up costing him what he wanted to at the end. He was kind of defiant and wouldn't take no for an answer.
He was
stubborn, and that's what got him to the big leagues. That made him an all-time great. He won more games than anybody in the history of the game. He was almost on base. He was on base, I think, 5,900 times,
like
which is
some crazy,
way more than anybody else. Just a fantastic player,
and he played hard.
Example, played hard. Didn't give a shit. I saw another thing. He missed 10 games in like 14 years.
Some crazy number.
Ridiculous. I mean, always in the lineup. Again, not a physical
at different
specimen.
Positions.
Yeah, he played multiple positions. Just a fantastic ball player, and honestly, the truest definition of a winner you could ever probably finally find, because he won more games. I just saw this. He won more games than any player in the history of sports.
Without question.
Okay, he was on the winning side. And at the end of the day, the Herm Edwards quote, you play to win the game. And that's what he did. He won MVPs. He won he made 17 All-Star games or whatever it was. He won championships. Just an all-time great. Sad to see him go, and it's, a little sad that he didn't get his just due necessarily. But listen, you can't go back. You just brought up a point that, gambling and, every game you turn on, they're going to tell you, it's the spread. And hey, what's your big bet for tonight? Like, I got Garrett Cole under 2 runs, and I'm going to parlay that with the Yankees -1 or whatever it is. Like those things are there now, okay? But you can't go back. It's like, and again, not to get political on our Agent of the Fan podcast, but they're knocking down statues of histories, but you can't compare what somebody lived in the 1700s and what they're doing in 2024. So in my opinion, I don't, at least, and I think, at that time it was, it still is extremely unethical. I'm an agent. I'm not allowed to gamble on baseball. Okay. It's just unethical. I might know something that somebody else might not know.
By the way, I mean, you can't do it, period, today. We're obviously we're just talking about the sense of that it's out there. So
right. But I'm saying, like, I'm an agent. I'm not on the field. I'm not making managerial moves. I'm not doing all these things. I'm just an agent who represents players. I'm not allowed as an agent to bet on baseball. So here's a guy who was a player manager, who was on the field making plays, and he's betting in the game. And it's not even, I mean, I think it was pretty clear, if I'm not mistaken, that he only bet on his team
to win.
But he knows things that other people aren't going to know. He might, the other manager might say, hey, you got to get us today, our bullpen shot or whatever it is. Boom, there you go. I mean, that's a little thing that, you might have.
It takes one little thing.
Yeah, one little thing. So, again, it's unethical. He did the wrong thing. The fact that he didn't own it, I think, originally hurt him. And that's, he had the controversy with Giamatti, and they didn't like each other at all. So, but it's just, it's sad that I was sad to hear he passed away. Like I said, a great player, and never, will never ever be forgotten. But unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Now, moving forward, the best part of the show, the Miami Minute. You haven't told me anything. I want to hear what you got to say. Go.
Okay. Miami Minute. Okay. So listen, here's the thing. The Miami Hurricanes football universe, the Canes, we call it the Canes family, Canes fam. We're in a different place right now. Okay. The games we would normally lose, we're winning. We're finding a way to win games. We have a true leader in our quarterback, our Lord and Savior, Cam Ward. And Cam is a guy who just, much like we just said about Charlie Hustle, he's not letting us lose, okay? So I wanted to take this minute to recognize Mr. Cam Ward for what he's done, what he did last Friday night against Virginia Tech, willing our team to victory. It wasn't his best game. It wasn't his finest performance. But when the chips were on the line, when the game was there, he snatched that game. He snatched victory from the
jaws of
defeat. He came out. He made the key plays when he had to make them. He made an absurd play that I can't even describe to you. You have to check it out. Look it up on YouTube or wherever you find your plays. But what Cam Ward did was that was his Heisman moment. He's just got to keep it going. His numbers are great. He's a true leader. This guy, I would take him number 1 in the draft. This is the kind of guy that I want on my team at all times. I love him. And we got Cal this weekend. We got to go get him. But today, Miami Minute is dedicated, and there'll probably be more coming, to Cam Ward. Cam, love you.
And with that, we end our show. Chris,
thanks for everybody for joining. We'll probably be separated next time, but it's nice to have you here, Lou.
Take care, guys.
Take care.